Hello aspirants, looking at current affairs for 11th Jan. The news items that have been picked up from the Hindu are these 11. We'll discuss them in detail. The first one, Supreme Court orders audit of 30 lakh NGOs. So there are nearly 30 lakh NGOs which receive public funds. So public here means government. Remember, in polity, public means government. So they are receiving funds from the government. So there are these nearly 30 lakh NGOs, out of which only 3 lakh file IT returns. So filing IT returns is the first step. That income tax returns filed means it's not necessary that you're paying the tax. You may be claiming zero tax, but at least giving an account about how the money is used by these NGOs. So even filing of IT returns is not done. So this requires government to take action. So far government has only blacklisted these NGOs, means they would not be receiving funds later. But there are provisions which require government to regulate them and take action against them for this. There are these General Financial Rules 2005, which provides for the regulatory mechanism over these NGOs. So presently the Supreme Court is directing the government that these 30 lakh NGOs need to be audited. So this order for auditing has been given because it is CAPAT, Council for Advancement of People's Action and Rural Technology. This CAPAT, which comes under the Rural Development Ministry, it provides financing to these NGOs. Funding and assistance is provided to NGOs for implementation of the rural development schemes, various schemes which are implemented through NGOs. So when money is being provided by the government to these NGOs, then taking an account from them that how money is being used is very, very important. So that is what is highlighted here. So this shows how in various states NGOs which are receiving public funds and how many of them file returns. So an NGO is an organization, a non-governmental organization, means it is independent of the government and it is generally a not-for-profit organization. It's not a business organization for some particular social purpose. So that is the general understanding of the term NGO. It is said it originated from the United Nations. So that is when the term NGO became prominent, and we have many NGOs functioning in India as well. Then what is CAPAT was, we saw, Council for Advancement of People's Action and Rural Technology. So it was established in 1986 by merger of two organizations, one for rural technology and one for people's action. It's an autonomous body under Ministry of Rural Development. It's a society registered under the Societies Registration Act. So this is the function is, it aims to catalyze and coordinate the emerging partnership between voluntary organizations and the government for sustainable development of rural areas. So at one point of time, NGOs were considered as an opposition to the government. But then later it was realized that NGOs can be an assisting arm of the government and both should work together. So this is how catalyzing their operation can help the government. The coordination between the two is important. Even facilitating the NGOs with support, with even monetary support, is done through CAPAT. So this is it. The next news item is NGT panel to inspect major waste generators. So National Green Tribunal has established a committee to look into major waste generators in Delhi. But then this is important overall on environment, that there are major waste generators. So these are generally cooperative registered societies, educational institutions, hospitals, 5-star hotels, malls, all these are major waste generators, and it is much more important that here at least collection of waste, segregation of waste is taken care of effectively. Of course, the responsibility lies with the municipal bodies. So local bodies have to handle the waste, but initial work needs to be done at these major waste generator site itself. So that is what is being emphasized on. So a committee will inspect into their functioning. So this is there. So the NGT has expressed concern that public authorities lacked infrastructure and appropriate technical capacity to handle such huge quantities of waste. So urban areas in India are generating huge amount of waste, but we don't have the technical capability. It is said that in India only 70% of the waste which is generated is collected, and out of this only 30% is treated. Remaining goes to landfill. So there is no technical capability to handle such huge amount of waste. So there are waste management rules. So municipal waste management rules of 2000, they ask every municipal authority that it is responsible for collection, segregation, storage, transportation, processing and disposal of municipal solid waste. This provision is already there. There is the latest provision, Solid Waste Management Rules 2016, that put in more powers in the hands of municipal bodies and also made it important that segregation should be emphasized on, because segregation of waste, biodegradable, non-biodegradable, so there are different types of waste. So there is a need for segregation at the user end as well. So these provisions have also been brought in, but then a transition period has been given of around 2 to 5 years, after which fines will be levied for non-segregation and such aspects. So user fees can also be charged. That provision is also there in these rules. Spot fines can be imposed by the municipal bodies for littering and non-segregation. So now the large producers of municipal waste have the responsibility on them to have facilities to treat and recycle the waste. This has been put on them as well. So this is the new rules which are of significance, which NGT is asking to be implemented. The next news item is making solar rooftops mandatory. This is Center for Science Environment, which has given this recommendation that solar panels on rooftops should be made mandatory for all new residential societies. So this the center can impose. It also suggests that there can be incentives given to builders who are making provisions for this. They should be asked to provide some portion of the plinth area, the floor area, shadow free to aid solar panels which can be put on them. So all residential societies which will have them as against the diesel generators which are generally used as a solar backup. So if solar power is used as a backup, there would be lakhs of rupees as saving every year. So this is the recommendation given. So you can see solar savings which can be possible in various regions. So study has been made by them. The next news item is effects of endosulfan devastating, Supreme Court. So endosulfan is a chemical, an agrochemical which is used as an insecticide. So it is generally used on crops, especially in Kerala, in this Kasaragod district here, for cashew plantations, and it is seen that its effect has been devastating for the families here, especially for the newborns. So there have been recommendations. Of course, it has been banned right now, and there have been compensations which have been announced by the government, and the Kerala government is now asked by the Supreme Court to release the entire compensation amount which has been conferred on around 5,000 victims, and most of them are newborn children as such. So this should be dispersed within 3 months is the recommendation of the order of the Supreme Court. So the state of Kerala, it says, can initiate legal proceedings to recover the compensation money from the pesticide companies which are responsible for production and sale of this endosulfan. So it's a cheap agrochemical, but it is highly controversial and has presently been banned. So you can see in 2011, Supreme Court had ordered an immediate ban on endosulfan while disregarding pleas of over 150 private export companies which are endorsing endosulfan, and they also claim that endosulfan is not actually responsible for the deformities which have been caused in the newborns. So you can see this is endosulfan. It has been banned worldwide in more than 65 countries. This is Kasaragod district tragedy which has been seen presently. So you can see this is one of the ways which is seen, the overgrowth of the head, which eventually has led to the death of this child too. So these have been said to be caused because of endosulfan, and this is seen in general in large numbers in Kasaragod district in Kerala. The next news item is Maharashtra banks in doldrums. So this is an example in case of Maharashtra, but this is the status in most of the states as well, that very few functional ATMs and banking correspondents are presently working in functional in rural areas. So presently, even in the Rabi season, the disbursement of crop loans have been quite low. Only 17% target has been achieved for crop loan disbursement in Rabi season as compared to 88% crop loan disbursal during Kharif season. So of course it has been affected. The agriculture sector, the rural sector has been affected because of demonetization. Even the recalibration of ATMs has not been completed as such. So banking correspondents are still not functioning effective and at required percentage. So all these issues still prevail. Even many ATMs are not active. So whole data is here provided for a state. But of course this shows us the larger picture as well. The next news item is cash for land is just not done, Supreme Court. So this is the Supreme Court stand in Sardar Sarovar project. This is again regarding land acquisition being done and the land, fertile land which is taken over from the farmers in lieu of cash. So that is not sufficient. Cash cannot replace the land which has been lost. Because with land, even employment opportunities are located, because people work in those regions, so they lose on those aspects as well. So this is the stand taken by the Supreme Court in this case. Sardar Sarovar project is part of the Narmada River project here on Narmada River. So this is the Sardar Sarovar Dam you can see on Narmada River, which flows here into Gujarat. So many projects, many dams are located on this Narmada Dam project. One of them is Sardar Sarovar Dam, and the most famous case is regarding the resistance against the construction of this dam, increasing the height of this dam, and that was Narmada Bachao Andolan. So this is an Andolan against, a movement against all large dams on the Narmada River, Narmada River as such passes through Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh and Gujarat. So here from Madhya Pradesh it's entering into Gujarat. So this is regarding that. Other aspect highlighted is the judgments of the Supreme Court in 2000 and 2005 also, when it had upheld the land rights for adult sons of the Sardar Sarovar project affected families. So if the family, the son then inherits the land, and the land rights are also inherited by them. This was upheld after the land has been acquired and is in a controversy. The next news item is Election Commission starts screening of government ads. So Election Commission has again made it stand clear that government funded advertisements which are publicizing achievements of political functionaries or parties as such violate the Model Code of Conduct. So endorsing about schemes as such and publicizing the achievements is not allowed when Model Code of Conduct is in operation. But if it's a general message on social welfare schemes and awareness campaign, then that is allowed. So of course there is an exception as well. So now it is again re-endorsing its order. It was in 2004 that the Election Commission had ordered that no political party or functionary can use public resources to eulogize himself. I mean to highlight, promote themselves or enhance their image during the elections time when the Model Code of Conduct is in effect. So this is the case. Also it has said that if you are putting hoardings on private properties, then the no objection certificates issued by the owners should also be submitted. So this is also there. The next news item is Election Commission issues warning. So this is a warning to political parties against making any statement that might trigger disharmony in the society on the basis of religion, caste, etc. It has also reiterated that already the Supreme Court, a few days back in Jan 2017 itself, the Supreme Court had given its judgment when it said that use of religion and caste in these speeches are termed as corrupt practices under the Representation of People's Act. So this is again reiterated and a warning has been issued by the Election Commission. Then the next article is India opposed to inclusion of new issues in World Trade Organization. So what are these new issues? To understand that, first you should know about the background of World Trade Organization. So these new issues have been proposed by the developed countries at the World Economic Forum. So World Economic Forum, it takes place every year. So this year too, it is scheduled to take place in a few days. So in these forum, the developed countries are asking for inclusion of e-commerce and investment in the formal agenda before the WTO. So this is opposed because the ongoing Doha round of talks will be diluted if new issues will be included in it apart from the developmental agenda which is in place. So what is this Doha round of talks and WTO? We'll just look at it. So WTO is a body which replaced GATT, that is General Agreement on Tariff and Trade. So it was formally established in 1995 as a successor to GATT, but GATT was just an agreement, whereas WTO is a complete organization. GATT referred to only trade and tariff, so it was with respect to goods, but WTO includes trade in goods, services as well as intellectual property. So it has a much wider mandate. It's a permanent body setup. This was just an ad hoc agreement in place. So World Trade Organization represents 97% of world trade. So there are negotiations undertaken to have a global understanding on trade, on barriers to trade, that is tariff and non-tariff barriers. So tariff is monetarily, like you put in restrictions that how much tariff is allowed, means duties which are imposed. So limit to duties, and non-tariff barriers are other ways in which trades are restricted, like we have done this earlier to sanitary and phytosanitary measures, technical barriers to trade. So these are other ways in which barriers to trade are imposed. Like sanitary and phytosanitary measures refer to things like, the commodity, whatever is traded. So it's with respect to commodities only. Sanitary is with respect to plants and animals. So sanitary and phytosanitary measures with respect to any contamination which may be there in any product. So based on such concerns, trade is restricted. So those are called sanitary phytosanitary measures. And the technical barriers to trade is with respect to technical aspects involved in the commodity produced. So there are barriers placed because of the technical aspect, like even if labor laws are violated. So all those aspects can also be used as technical barriers to trade. So those are called non-tariff barriers. So in these ways also trade is restricted. So eliminating all this is what WTO is working towards. So there are various rounds which have been conducted. So this body is headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland, and the various rounds which have been undertaken since 1995. First round was Singapore. Second means these are the summits held, ministerial conferences. So Singapore was the first one, Geneva the second, and the third ministerial conference in Seattle. The fourth ministerial conference in Doha, that is the capital of Qatar, in 2001 is said to have still not been completed. So it's called the Doha Development Round. So in the later ministerial conferences too, these same issues continued to be debated upon and have not been finalized on till date. So that is the status right now. So the objectives of Doha Development Round were to lower trade barriers, both tariff and non-tariff, and to have negotiations on agricultural and manufacturing markets. So agreement on agriculture is also there. GATS is agreement on trade, in general agreement on trade in services. So on services, on goods, on even TRIPS, that is intellectual property rights. So all these provisions are to be discussed, negotiated and finalized upon. But there are issues, differences. That is one important aspect. Doha Development Agenda also wants to make trade rules fairer for developing countries. So because it is seen that trade is distorted, not favoring developing countries, rather favoring developed countries. So to make trade rules fairer is also one of the important agendas under Doha Development Round. So what is the status of this round is it has failed actually. So it started in 2001. After that various meetings took place, but finalization of these agendas on the Doha Development Round could not be finalized. There are differences between developed and developing countries, differences within the developed countries as well. So between US and EU also over agricultural subsidies. So agricultural subsidies form a major barrier to trade, which developed countries provide in huge amounts, so which are affecting developing countries adversely. So if trade in agriculture is opened up, then the developed countries would overtake the whole trade in agriculture and developing countries would suffer. So this aspect on agricultural subsidies is a concern between even developing nations, between exporters and importers. So some aspects favor exporters, some importers. So there are differences. So these need to be resolved. So the talks have gone on, and finally in 2008 the talks completely collapsed on the same issues, and agricultural subsidies, reduction on industrial tariffs and non-tariff barriers, and services and trade remedies. So these concerns still remain. Then about the World Economic Forum, which has been the forum which is going to meet, in which new issues are to be included in WTO. That was what is in news. So World Economic Forum is a Swiss non-profit organization, again headquartered in Switzerland, in Geneva. So this body is committed to improving the state of the world by engaging business, political, academic and other leaders of the society to shape global, regional and industrial agendas. So it's World Economic Forum. So but it's considered as a global think tank. It's an NGO basically, but important economic reports are produced by it annually, like Global Competitiveness Report, Global Information Technology Report. So these indexes also come from World Economic Forum. Global Information Technology, Global Gender Gap Report. So these indices like Global Travel and Tourism Report, Financial Development Report, Global Enabling Trade Report are all put forth annually by World Economic Forum. The next news item is Tata Sons asks NCLT to dismiss Mistri's petition. So NCLT is National Company Law Tribunal. So this National Company Law Tribunal has been established in June 2016 along with even the National Company Law Appellate Tribunal. In appeal it would lie there. So the tribunal has been established under the Companies Act of 2002, and even the new Companies Act of 2013 confers various powers on it. So its powers would be enhanced in phases. So these are the powers. Presently, it has powers to decide on suits against a company filed by its investors and depositors. It can order change of auditor on grounds of fraud. It can freeze the assets of a company in case of investigation or inquiry in some matter. Later, it would also be given power of the High Court. So presently, the power with the High Court on cases related to mergers and acquisitions will be transferred to NCLT later. Also later, it will be having the power to decide on cases related to insolvency and bankruptcy court. So for this, maybe special branches would also be set up. So these are the provisions, and this is what NCLT is. Presently, this is with respect to the Tata case. You must be knowing about that Cyrus Mistry, the chairman of Tata Group, was ousted, and he has approached the National Company Law Tribunal. Presently, Tata Sons, the holding company of Tata Group, has asked NCLT to dismiss his petition, and the reason given for that is because it says that the two firms under the Tata Group on the basis of which the petition has been filed, it is Cyrus Investments Private Limited and Sterling Investments Private Limited. So these are two companies under Cyrus Mistry, but these companies do not have enough stake to file a petition under Section 244 of the Companies Act. So they have only 2.17% stake, but the regulations say that at least 10% stake should be there in the company to file such a petition. So on this ground, the Tata Group has asked NCLT to dismiss the petition. So we'll hear more about this. What is the decision of the NCLT, whether it accepts the petition, and what order does it pass. So it's a newly constituted body just set up in June 2016 itself. And you know about Cyrus Mistry and the allegations made by him regarding corporate governance in Tata Group, regarding mismanagement and interference and oppression by the board members of the company. So that is this. The last news item is H1B reforms to add pressure on IT firms' margins. So this is regarding the bill which has been proposed, H1B visa reform bill in USA. This is Protect and Grow American Jobs Act. So this act, if approved by the US government, will result in increase in the annual salary of H1B visa holders. So this presently it is $60,000 per annum. It would be increased to $1 lakh per annum. So this increase in salaries would put a burden on the IT companies, especially the Indian IT companies there are what we are concerned with, and that will eat up on their margins. So this is the point. So what is H1B visa 2? It is a non-immigrant visa which USA provides, and it allows US employers to temporarily employ foreign workers in specialty occupations. So there are a list of specialty occupations in which such employments, recruitments can be done. But then also there are requirements, like one aspect is salaries increased, and another aspect is some exemptions are given on master's degree which is required for H1B visa. So these exemptions are also set to be ended under the proposed bill. So this will be the bill. So if a foreign worker having an H1B visa quits or is dismissed by the sponsoring employer, then he must either apply for a new visa or be granted a change of status if he finds another employer, or he has to eventually leave the country if nothing else works out. So this is what H1B visa is. So these are the news items for 17th Jan. Thank you.